how would you grade the deadline for the Astros?
To me, it's a C minus D plus at best. Yesterday I was just F all over the place, but I just think that they're a little better in the starting rotation because anybody, even Paxton to me, was better than Bloss. So you've got a guy that for the rest of the season, but the price you paid really bothers me. I'll go D.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it an F. I don't like the way that the Astros handled the deadline. Yusei Kikuchi, and like again, I don't hate what the Astros traded. I don't love what they got. At best, an upgrade at the fifth spot in the rotation. Which look, Jake Bloss in 3 starts has been pretty similar to what Yusei Kikuchi's been in his last 12. Like, yes, Kikuchi should be better for the rest of the season than Jake Bloss should be. But when the best thing you're saying about a guy is that he's an innings eater, and you hope the Astros fix him, and you gave a pretty significant haul to get him, I don't like the trade. I think that's a loss of a trade. Caleb Ferguson, he's your 5th best reliever, at best, 5th best reliever. You have Hader, you have Presley, you have Abreu, Taylor Scott's better. At best, he's your 5th best reliever. At best. And then you get nothing for the offense, in which you have 2 positions that are quite easy. Like, you can find a first baseman that has a little bit of thump. You can find a corner outfielder. Like Canna would have been an upgrade.
But I can't.
And you did absolutely nothing,
too, right?
No, I don't know if he can really at this stage of his career. He has in the past.
Yeah, I know he's played.
I don't think he can anymore. Like, he's played a little first base too, though. Like, maybe
I
he's
said
your
first base.
Oh, they said third.
No,
bad.
First base.
Yeah, he can play first.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
first.
At least there, you could have multiple. He's versatile to give you enough options, left field and first base, to get another experienced bat in the lineup. He's been Milwaukee, Detroit. Before that, Mets. He's been around in Oakland, where the Astros fans probably know him best. But he's been a decent bat in the lineup to where he might be an upgrade and help you at both positions.
Yeah, I give it an S. I think that the Astros failed this trade deadline. Uncle Barney texting in, I would have given them a better grade if they had done nothing. Yeah, I agree. Great mind on that, Branham. 2180, Dana Brown is hot garbage. I'm sure Jerry Crane pushed for things, but man, what an awful deadline. Look, we talked about this earlier. I don't know who's responsible for these trades. I'm just going to collectively group them together from here on forward and call them the Astros front office. Was it a mandate for Dana Brown to trade for a starting pitcher? I know that Jim Crane has to sign off on all of these trades. Who's involved? I'm done with the guessing game. I have no idea. Anybody who's saying so has no idea. So I'm just collectively calling them the Astros front office, and I think the Astros front office failed this. Now, I still think the Astros are a World Series contender. I still think they can win the World Series. Just because you didn't have a great deadline doesn't mean that the chances of you winning it all are gone. I just don't think they significantly upgraded this team. If they did upgrade this team, and I think they slightly did, it's a regular season upgrade. I don't think they upgraded at all from a playoff perspective, other than Ferguson, who can give you a left-handed option out of the bullpen.
Look, if this comes down to just being an overall Crane Gang move and a Crane Gang season and all the things that all these guys under Crane have done, we know the owner's not going anywhere. He's not selling the team, and he's always going to be the guy at the top of the pyramid. But it might be time to start weeding through the reset button of saying, hey, look, Dana, there's going to be a lot more pressure on you and a lot more eyes are on you to step up. Bagwell's got to step out. Cabell and Reggie have to step out, and they've got to try and get back to some kind of a reasonable front office to where there's a reason and kind of a thought process behind a lot of the things that they're doing to kind of get back to the ways where as much as you hated all the analytics, Jeff Bagwell and others, and you crapped on them and said that that's not the way it has to be done. Those ways worked pretty well. And since then, it's been kind of a disaster.
Yeah. To me, there's been 2 red flags in these last 2 trade deadlines. Last trade deadline I was fine with. I was okay trading Gilbert and Clifford for Verlander, and then, they paid half the contract of Verlander. The 2 issues that I feel the Astros front office has really, I don't want to use the word incompetent because I don't think it's quite that far, but I think it's close. Where they've really failed is getting throw-ins to the trade. Like last year, whenever they made the Clifford and Gilbert for Verlander trade, okay, like that's a heavy price to pay. It makes you uncomfortable. Most trades you're making at the deadline are going to make you uncomfortable. I get that. But get a throw-in that can help you. Get somebody that the Mets have that they're going to trade for nothing as a throw into that trade. So when the Mets are like, okay, we're going to do Clifford Gilbert, we're going to pay half of Verlander's contract, and the Astros are like, they cringe, they don't really like that. Say a name that the Mets would have been willing to throw in that they couldn't care less about. Like Tommy Pham. Tommy Pham was traded to Arizona the next day for like nothing, for peanuts, for a guy who was like the lowest level minor league system that was not ranked at all, that was a D-level prospect. Okay, if you're going to pay the heavy price, get the throw in that they don't care about. That could have been the same thing this trade deadline. Okay, the Astros are trading for Kikuchi. What is the demand? The demand is that it's going to be Blas, it's Loperfido, and it's Willie Wagner, Billy's boy. Okay, that's a high price. I don't love doing that, but that's the price of poker in 2024 at the trade deadline. Okay, Toronto. Okay, James Click. We don't want to do that, but we'll do that. But you need to either take part of Rafael Montero's contract. You need to throw in Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who you're not going to get a ton for. You need to throw in Trevor Richards, who was traded today for a bag of peanuts. So I think that's an area that the Astros have really struggled in these last two deadlines is I understand you're going to pay a high price, and we're probably not going to feel great about it. That's that's the nature of the business. But get the throw into the trade that can help you a little bit more that the other team isn't going to care about parting with. The Mets didn't care about trading Pham. They let him go for nothing the next day. They would have gladly added Pham if it sealed the deal on two prospects that they wanted. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa might have been too high of a prospect, but Trevor Richards, or pay 25% of Rafael Montero's contract because we're going to cut him next week. So that is the area that I've been frustrated with the last 2 years of the deadline for the Astros. The packages have been high, but I understand that's that's part of that's the business side of things, and that's going to be the price you have to pay to improve. But get the throw in that the other team doesn't care about that's going to help you a little bit more.
That makes sense. Look, I think the other thing that I would add to that is have the ability and the confidence to walk away and say no. And at the end of the day, be okay with it. No matter how much you put in the media, no matter how much your diarrhea of the mouth said you had to get a starting pitcher coming out of this trade deadline, the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, be okay with being able to say no. Say, okay, I know that I said I wanted to go get a starting pitcher, but at the end of the day, we weren't comfortable and didn't feel good enough about what we were getting as opposed to what we were giving up, and we decided we were best suited to just ride with what we have. Be able to say no. And maybe that's not to the complete deadline, but maybe that helps a deal happen because you show the confidence to say, hey, even if I don't make a deal, I'm going to be okay. And maybe that team then circles back to you when you least expected it and go, you know what? We want to talk to you again. And maybe that's okay. But either way, to be able to walk away and be okay with it is something that, as much as Dana was out even on the broadcast this weekend with TK and Blummer saying, look, I've been through nine deadlines. This is nothing to me. At a certain point when you're the front man, you have to be able to either have a poker face or be able to say, nope, you know what, I'm good, and walk away and then live with it.
Yeah, I would have done that with a Kikuchi trade.
That's what I'm saying.
I would have done that with a Kikuchi. And if that means you don't get a starting pitcher, okay. Like, is Kikuchi better than Blas? Yes. How much better? Is it a game? Is it 3 games? Is it 7? It's obviously not 7 games. Is it the difference between making the playoffs and missing the playoffs? Probably not. Probably not. I'm with you on that.
And the thing, too, is that, a lot of times what hitters struggle with is I've never seen a pitcher before. So maybe if it wasn't Blas the entire rest of the way, maybe Blue Ball does get a start. You bring him up and you give him a chance just to see if maybe he could be more effective or go deeper in innings, eat more than a Blas could. There's other guys in your system. A Lauer was a guy that, even if that's a guy that with the way his contract was written, give him the chance, give him the opportunity, get him back to the bigs, see if he can at least do the kind of things you needed him to do for 4 or 5 starts until you get Verlander back and you're in a better position. But then you're not mortgaging 3 guys that at least 2 of them were on the big league roster.
Yeah. 0613, this was a Bagwell trade deadline. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, you don't like it, so you're saying it's a Bagwell trade deadline. It's the Astros front office in collection. Like, it who knows who's doing what. Crane signs off on everything. It's the Astros front office. So just because you didn't like the trade deadline, you can't pin it on Jeff Bagwell. Some people are saying fire Dana Brown. How do you know he didn't get mandated by the owner? The Astros front office is to blame entirely. 60-30, it was a bust. This was another sad, bad word year for trading. Crane, please sell the dang team. That's a take. 9012, this bust of a deadline just made the remainder of the regular season must-see TV. The Astros are not going to run away with the division. It's going to be a battle the rest of the way, and every game could decide who's in the playoffs. I think it's fair. I still think that the Astros win the division comfortably, quite honestly.
I hope so. I don't know comfortably anymore because I mean, I think that Seattle did their best to try and upgrade. I think the Rangers, although they took a step back with the way they've played lately, they still have pitchers coming back to where, and their offense has been decent.
Who they have coming back?
They've got DeGrom. They said DeGrom is coming back at some point.
He's Lance McCullers.
And what's his name? There's at least one other pitcher that's been out that's coming back. I know Gray just pulled his groin as well. He's out, but I think they're going to get a couple pitchers back to where, look, that's a formidable offense. That's a good team. That's the reigning World Series champs. I think that they're gonna gain ground a little bit. They'll be in the race. I think it's a 2-team race. I just think that I'd love to say they're going to walk away with it comfortably. I think it's going to be a dogfight.
5.535 lefty instead of Montero is a win every day, probably so. But boy, I would have sure liked to. Okay, Blue Jays, you want those 3 prospects? We're willing to do that, but you're going to have to pay 10 to 25% of Rafael Montero's contract. We'll cover 85% of the cost, but you have to take them back in the trade. Just a little throw in, whether you're dumping a contract, leaving a little piece of it, or they're adding a player that could help you. Ocho, I was willing to keep the status quo and hope some unsung players got hot in October like the 23 Diamondbacks. You know who's hitting cleanup for the 23 Diamondbacks that went to the World Series? Tommy Pham, who should have been a throw-in in the Verlander trade last year. The Astros front office is terrible at that the last 2 deadlines. Get a throw-in to the trade. I just pulled up the Astros trade target wish list. Couple of throw-ins I would have liked for the Blue Jays. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa would have been high on my list. He's a better utility guy than Mauricio Dubon. He can play left field for you, quite frankly, too. They traded Trevor Richards. They already traded Yimi Garcia the other day, so he wouldn't have been an option there. So there's a couple of options. A throw-in that would have made your 26-man roster better that I bet you the Blue Jays would have done if you put a little bit of pressure on them. 5.535, nobody wanted Forrest Whitley. Ha, ha, ha. That guy has no trade value. Although I do think we'll see him on the big league team this year. I think he makes it back to the Astros
September?
this season. I don't. It depends on injuries. It depends on what they do with Montero. I think that he'll pitch an inning for the Astros again in 2024.
Do they have this? That's what I was just going to throw at you too. Do you think they have the stones now to get rid of Montero?
I think they will.
Just DFA him.
I think they're gonna.
He's
some point
such
in
dead
July,
weight, and
August.
He's hindering them with the fact that he's only limited to mop ups, up or down multiple runs.
I mean, usually you carry a guy like that anyways, so it's not like he's killing the Astros because usually you have a mop up guy in your bullpen that eats those innings anyways. So. And you don't really care their production because they're a mop-up guy. Now, where Montero, like he is the highest paid mop-up guy in baseball, he's not going to eat multiple innings like a week in a game. He's not going to eat multiple innings more than once in a week. Like Brandon Bielak was the optimal mop-up guy. He's not somebody you're using in any high leverage. You never trust him to actually like save a lead or do anything like that. But he's got a rubber arm and can throw 150 pitches in a week. That is his value. So like he's good in a mop-up role because he can pitch all the time. Montero's not pitching all the time.
No. And look, at least from his perspective, when you're talking about Bielak, he could give you a spot start and every now and then catch lightning in a bottle and do some things for you to do exactly what you're talking about is eat innings. Montero, to me, it's just I'm just wondering when the experiment is over, when they have to admit they made another mistake and they're going to eat the rest of the contract and send him on his way and maybe find someone better to fill in, whether it's the guy, Ferguson, or you just know that you have too many guys that need to be on this roster when you need them most.
2787, Pham is an idiot whose personality wouldn't jive on this roster. Stop with the Pham love, man. He and Bregman are tight. Helped the team go to the World Series last year, and literally a team that previously had Tommy Pham traded for him this year. So maybe he's not the cancer in the clubhouse like you think, because he was previously in St. Louis, and if he was so bad, why is St. Louis trading for him again?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can see the persona of he punched a guy that he said was trying to carjack him. He's obviously he's a physical guy. But
he punched the guy over fantasy football.
It was Jock Peterson, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Jock Peterson.
He also punched the guy that was carjacking him in San Diego.
Oh, okay. Well, I think everyone's okay with someone punching
Give me that guy.
Allegedly.
I'm okay with him slapping Jock Peterson for not paying his fantasy football dues.
Same.
Yeah, I can't stand Jock Peterson, so I'm okay with him slapping him anyway.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I like
But if he's an enforcer, if he's a guy that wants to, and just the other things too, where he's going to play by the rules and the rules of baseball and the unwritten rules of baseball, but if he doesn't like something, he's going to stand up for himself. It doesn't make him a bad locker room guy.
I don't really believe in that, especially the Cardinals trading for him after already having him. is evidence. If he was a guy who tears down the clubhouse, a team that recently had him isn't bringing him back into the fold.
That's a fact.
1029. With additional wild card teams, the trade deadline is completely different than it was, and the good GMs are showing themselves as well as the bad. I also think it needs to change the way you operate in the offseason, quite frankly. 6146, to Branham's point, the year the Astros got Graveman from Seattle, the throw-in guy was Montero. While Montero sucks now, he did help win the 22 World Series. He didn't help it to the following year, but yes, that's a good point. Now they made the mistake of giving him the extension, and the Astros did that when they didn't have a general manager. 1779, I'd like to punch Jock Peterson. 2180, who doesn't want to punch Jock Peterson.
Yep.
All of this stuff is true.